How's it going, guys? Nathaniel R here. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys are having an absolutely fantastic day. In today's video, we are going to be tackling Dark Souls 3. I wanted to make a video to show people, if you're new to the game and you're starting out, the best things that I found to start off the game, something that'll make it a little bit more comfortable for you, especially if you've never experienced a Dark Souls game or Soulsborne kind of game. This will be a way for you to be able to start off this game and start it off a little bit more comfortably, especially with Elden Ring coming out just in about a month or two, something like that, or 2 months or something like that. I wanted to make this video especially because I've been having a lot of my friends or people on my stream who have never seen the game before or never even heard of these games. They're trying it out for the first time and they're like, what is going on? I don't know what I'm doing. And so it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna make a video and I'll give you a kind of like a beginner's guide of how to start off and the things that I personally recommend and different things to look out for, so you can start the experience. And you absolutely should. If you've never played any of the Dark Souls series or Bloodborne or any of these games, please play it. These games are ridiculously hard, but they are incredible. They are some of my top games and I absolutely love them, especially Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. Those are my favorite of the series. They are just absolutely incredible, delightful, and if you can play with friends, it makes it more enjoyable as well. I definitely love being able to take some of my buddies through who have never played it before and just taking them to, if you've played the game, you know some of the mimic chests or just some of the other traps and stuff like that, and just trolling my friends and watching them die is absolutely fantastic. It's a lot of fun. But anyways, we're gonna jump into the game and we'll start this off, so let's switch on over. And we'll start off with the new game. And we'll just get right into it. But, oh man, if you have not played it,
indeed,
you absolutely need to. Let's skip that because that's not important. I'm going to do this. What should I name him? Bob. Sounds like the only thing that makes sense. One thing I'll say right here is I had this question a couple times from my buddies, is what class is important? Or they looked at the stats and like, okay, so what happens? Am I set to that class? You are not set to a specific class. So these things are just what your character will start off as. But as you go through the game, you can put the skills into whatever. So say I wanted to be, my buddy wanted to be a sorcerer, but I told him to start off with the knight because he is a solid and easy character, especially for your first time, and he's got good stats, good armor and stuff like that. And I told him, you know, like, you can start off with this character, but then you can spec all of your skills and everything into this character. That's just my personal recommendation. It's especially because being one of the sorcerer or pyromancer, if you are a newer person, these characters are pretty difficult to play because you have less vigor, which is their health, and so fighting different enemies and stuff like that can be difficult. So I personally just recommend starting off as the knight, and then as you go through the game and start getting souls to level up and whatnot, then you can start speccing into what you want to be and stuff like that. But this is a good solid character to start with, and that's what I'm gonna do. The burial gift, I personally, out of all these items, the only thing that I ever really grab, just because I think it's the most useful, is the young white branch. There's a couple times later in the actual story that this comes in fantastic. It's just really useful. I don't want to share it too much. If you are a person who's played this game a bunch, you know what you like, you pick that. But I just, for starting off, I recommend this for people who are doing it for the first time. None of this really matters to me. You guys can do what you want with any of this stuff, but that's personally what I recommend in that section. Okay, so now that we've spawned in, there's a couple things that I want to say. So when you have a shield, if you have a shield, you have a couple things you can do. You can block, or you can knock people's weapons away, which you can get a critical attack on. I personally am really bad at that, and I never do that. When it came to Bloodborne, I loved being able to stagger people and stuff that way. But when it's this game, I personally recommend just getting into the habit of attacking normally. So pushing wide to put both hands on the weapon will give you a little bit more damage, and then just focusing on dodging. So I personally think that's the best, or that works best for me, and I think it's a little bit easier than working on the I can't remember what it's called, or the block where you can knock their weapon away and then go for visceral. So I definitely recommend two hands. Another thing is looking up at your health. You have a green bar. With that, I think it's really important I know from personally playing with the people who are just coming in, you have to get in the habit of paying attention to that. I know my buddy and a couple of the other people who are just getting the habit of just trying to hit as many times as they can, and then they try to dodge, but they're out of stamina and they can't. So paying attention to that bar is really important. I always say, like, kind of, it's like a hit once, maybe twice, and then be ready to dodge. If you're putting and you're too aggressive, that's where you can start to make a lot of mistakes and you can die pretty easily, and it makes this whole journey a little bit difficult. So getting out of that habit of just being hyper aggressive, because this game is not a hyper aggressive unless you are a person who is really good at the game. You know, and you've played it for a long time. Some of those players can do that. I recommend not doing that until later on. So just getting into the use and the habit. And then also, if you can get up behind a guy, a lot of these smaller enemies, you can do a back attack like that. So I'd say block on, get used to him. So we'll get this guy right here, and I'll show you again. You'll attack. Oh, that was weird camera movement. Then try to get behind him, and then do that. So get used to the habit of just not trying to just go and hit everything as you can. You know, just getting used to going and get behind their back. These white things, if you don't know what they are, each one of these white things that appear, these are like little items that fall on the ground. So if you're wondering what those are basically just items. So now we're just gonna go forward. Okay. Now as we come up here, these things right here, if you're wondering what these are basically going to be your quote-unquote checkpoints. You are going to be able to fast travel to them, and also when you have a bunch of souls. So if you look at the bottom right, you see it that there's my soul count. Say you have too many souls and you don't want to take a chance to lose them, you can come to here and you can fast travel to the main shrine. We haven't unlocked that yet, but once we get that, we'll be able to do that. Another thing is when you actually rest at the bonfire. Before, when I pushed it, it just unlocked it for me, so I have it. But once I actually rest at the bonfire, all the enemies in the area that I've killed will respawn, and also my weapons durability will be refilled, and my flasks. The flasks at the bottom left are what you use to heal. Those will be refilled. So you'll have that all again. So it's like, okay, do I want to take a chance finding more enemies? Is it worth it to refill my stuff? You know, so you just gotta decide what you want. And I missed. But also another thing is just paying like this. If you can get a drop on an enemy, you can jump down and you do the right a butt bumper. You can do a drop attack on him. What is he doing? And if you do the right trigger, you can hold it to do a charge attack, and that will make you do more damage. So now we'll go right into the boss. So when fighting the boss, I would say it's important to kind of get into the habit of not being hyper aggressive. You know, thinking about 1 hit, 2 hits, and then dodging. You know, taking your time with it. Well, that sucked. It's the idea of this, it's not a race, it's a marathon, so taking your time and not being super aggressive and getting out of the habit of being hyper aggressive, because when you do, that's when you can make all the mistakes and the enemies just take you out really easily. Oh, I'm bad. Okay, so now that he goes into the second phase, I always say, like, I prefer to be kind of stay behind him if I can. Once he jumps, it's perfect because he stuns for a couple seconds. You can get 2 hits off pretty easily. But I always like to try and get behind him if I can. This is my comfortable spot. And then there's the boss fight. But just remembering that it's not about just trying to take him out really fast, because that's when you're going to screw yourself over. So, you know, just hit him once, then get ready to dodge and just pay attention to your stamina. I mean, if you're hitting once and then just focusing on dodging once, you know, just kind of like that, then he's not too hard and your stamina should be fine. And the nice part about being the knight is that he does have more stamina than if you decide to be, you know, the healer or whatnot. Okay, now let's do this. We're good. Let's light this up. Another note is that every time you beat a boss, if you are not embered, what embered is at the top left. If you look at that, I don't know what you call that, but it's all covered up in flames. That means you can, you can invite people into your world to, or summon people, and you can also be invaded if you are playing online. So then those are two options. It does give you a little bit more health as well if you are embered, so there is some reward or some plus to having that. Okay. Now we're going to run all the way up in here, and this up here is going to be the main shrine that I was talking about. All right, now that we come up in here, we're going to talk to this lady.
Welcome to the bond. I, the
Yes,
Lord.
yes. This will be our main person to leveling up.
Very
So the
well.
souls we
Then
have,
take no
and this is what I was talking about, that the character is ultimately yours. So once you get to this point, you can level up into whatever stats. So if you're wanting to be a magic class or whatever, you can level up your faith, your intelligence, and stuff like that to be able to do exactly what you want. I'm not going to spend my souls on that yet. I'm going to embed the sword. This is a main part of the story, so this is one thing you want to do. Off. Bonfire lit, nice. Now you'll be able to come back here whenever you find a fire and you want to spend the souls you have. I'm going to refill my flasks and stuff like that. From here, you can travel to the next location, but I want to go over here. This isn't as important if you're not going to play with people, so you don't have to spend your stuff on this, but I personally love playing with friends. So this is the things you want to get. I purchased the white soapstone as one of my first, and then the dried fingers. So if I'm in an area where I can only have one summoned, this will make it so I can summon another person, and that's what I prefer to spend my souls on first. After that, I like to go back out here. For a melee build like me, I love this weapon that's over here. I'm gonna come out to the right of this, and there's a nice little gentleman over here that I want his stuff. He's right up here. So this guy right here, he's kind of difficult, especially if it's your first time. But if you could set it up right, you can make him jump off the cliff. And if he jumps off the cliff, it's the same as taking him out. It's kind of cheesy, but you can get his weapon, and his sword is really solid. I really love his weapon. Now see, there we were able to knock him off by trolling him, just using his white attacks. When he pulls out a sword like that, he basically is going to do a lunge. So if you can line it up right, you can make him jump off the cliff. So what we do is we come back inside, rest at the bonfire, and then go right back to that spot, and where he's supposed to be, his weapons will now be. So we're gonna go back right up there. Another note, if you want to run quickly like I am, you just hold in the direction and then hold B, and you'll make it so you can run faster. So there's a note right there. Look, there's his item. You get his stuff. His sword is absolutely fantastic. I can't use it yet because I have to have my dexterity at 16. But once I can get my dexterity to 16, it's a absolutely fantastic weapon. I love it. Definitely recommend. And then another note is that if you look at, when I look up my equipment, if you look at the top right, there is a weight ratio. You want to keep that at 69 or below. You can have it up to 69.9 and you should be fine, but if you go higher than that, so I don't have enough equipment to be able to do that, I don't think. Actually, maybe I could put it on, I'll show you. Yes. So now I'm above it. Now my rolls will be slow and sluggish. So you just want to make sure that your stuff is below it. So now it's below it again, I can roll normally. So make it so I can roll a little bit better. Another note is when you first come into the shrine area, or not one first, but when you come into here, if you go up these stairs to the right, there's two things over here that are, or a couple things over here that are fantastic. If you come right here to this tree, you can examine the tree, and a giant seed is yet to fall. But once it does, you just go there occasionally. It drops about 3 times per playthrough. That makes it so if you do get invaded by real people, you can use that and it'll turn all the enemies in the area against that person as well. So you can use that to help you take out the enemy or the invader. So now with that I'm up right here, there's a little cheeky spot that you can go right here. If you could do this right, you come up here and then analog in, and you could try and jump on that ledge. It's gonna take me a couple times, but I'll show you after I get after that. Boom. Never mind, I'm cracked. So now that I'm up here, there's a couple items that are up here that are really, really nice to grab. So we're gonna grab this. We're gonna come over here. I'm gonna come in here. Up here, you can drop a couple things onto this thing, on this bird, and he'll give you some items. I actually don't know the combinations, but there's that. And then there's this Estus shard, which you can use to increase how many times you can use your flask. So that's nice. So coming over here as well, we're gonna drop down over here. And then there's another little item right here. Dun da da da. Boom. This right here is absolutely fantastic. So now when I go on and put this in my inventory, this is the covetous silver serpent ring. This makes it so now I get more souls from killing enemies. If you want to do that before you fight the guy that was up there with the katana, you can, and then you're able to get a little bit more souls from him. But it's absolutely fantastic having that on. Now another thing I recommend is coming over here to this blacksmith down over here. Since for me personally, I am not a sorcerer or the mage build or anything like that, so I will come over and talk to this gentleman. I will allot my Estus, and I will put it all into the other, to the healing potion instead of having any of the other one. So if you're not going to use the other one, then you can do that. The blue one basically just refills your FP, which makes it so you can do spells and stuff like that. To shard, I come over to this gentleman and I reinforce the Estus flask, and I use that shard I just got. And you see right down there, it still says I only have 4. That's totally okay. You just come to the fire and it'll refill your stock, but then you'll have it back again. Boom. Now I have 5, so you'll have a little bit more than when you started. So fantastic. But that's my personal recommendation when you're first starting off the game. There's a bunch of different stuff you can learn. The whole game is going to be a whole learning experience. It doesn't tell you much. A lot of it's just kind of figuring out or paying attention to the NPCs and stuff like that. If you do talk to NPCs, which are the characters that are sitting around and stuff like that, always exhaust their dialogue. Basically, just keep talking to them or listen to them until they, at the end, if you talk to them again, they say the same thing. Reason being is sometimes they can give you clues to different areas or different things. Some will give you items or different stuff like that. So always exhaust dialogue with the characters. I know there's a lot of information here, but if you really put your time into playing this game, it is absolutely incredible. It is so much fun. It is very difficult. Take your time with it. Enjoy it. You do not rush. You know, it's a hard game to take your time playing it, and if you do, this game is incredible, and it's one of the best games I've ever played for sure. So definitely give that a try. I hope this video helps you out a ton. If it does, make sure you hit that like button to subscribe to the channel. If you actually watched all this video, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a lot, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You guys are absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited to experience this game with you guys some more, and looking forward to Elden Ring when it comes out. But anyways, guys, thank you so much. I hope you all have a fantastic one, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.